This is the Local Real Estate Developer Podcast, where we share the stories of locals across the country who took that empty lot or that old building and turned it into something awesome that their community needs. I'm Kristi Kandel, and I've been a real estate developer my entire career. My co-host Raphael is a commercial broker, and together we're sharing the stories of locals making a huge impact on their communities. And what we've learned is you don't need millions in the bank or decades of experience to get started. You just need the confidence, tools, and the right people around you. This podcast is your chance to gain the confidence to get in the game, because real estate development isn't just for the insiders anymore. It's for people like you too. Welcome to the Local Real Estate Developer Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Kristi Kandel, and I'm a developer, investor, and I teach locals how to become developers in their own community. And today I'm excited because we have a guest that I actually met recently in person. And when she told me about her project, I was like, what? That's amazing. You need to be on the pod. So Hannah Corbacio is joining us today. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So what we like to do when we first bring someone on is just give them a little backstory of who you are, where you're at in the world, and just a little background, and then we'll dive into what you're doing.
All right, perfect. So my name's Hannah, of course. I'm located in Pennsylvania, and we are, of course, working on our first hotel project, which has been all brand new to us because our background is actually we have a marketing company. So that's the world that we come from, and this has kind of been our first step into real estate, into hospitality, into a hotel. So all brand new, which is keeping us very, very busy. But yeah, that's what we're up to.
On. So how marketing was that the career path that, hey, I know I want to be in marketing, and you did that for college, or?
No. I went to school to be an occupational therapist, and I did that for about 6 months afterwards. So I didn't last in the normal 9 to 5 world very long. But so I left there, and then I tried to do my own occupational therapy business on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And then I pivoted when the online world was becoming so popular, and I saw people doing online coaching and online therapy. So I switched to online. I hired a company to teach me how to do that. And then I ended up working for that company to do marketing and sales. And then that was my introduction to that world. And then I became their social media coach. So any business coaching clients that came on board, I taught them how to do social media for their business. So I did that for a little bit, and then I left and did my own marketing company. No, that was absolutely not the plan at all.
I love that, because what I just heard is that you're an entrepreneur. You said, I don't want to do the 9 to 5. I don't want to be stuck in an office. So I'm willing to step out and take the risk to go, let's take on a challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, was that scary making the move, or you're like, no, I'm choosing quality of life and what I want?
It was very scary. I remember when I first invested in that business coach, it felt like so much money. It was $5,000, and I felt like, it was really overwhelming. So it was definitely scary, but I just felt like at that time, there was nothing to lose. I mean, we didn't have children. I had student loans, but we were renting an apartment. I'm like, worst case scenario, I could just go back to a 9 to 5 job. I could, force my parents to let me back in. I had backup plans if need be. So it was scary, but I also felt like it was the right move.
Yeah. I love that so much. I'm pretty sure I just posted a video the other day about failure and how it's just just go do it anyway. And part of the reason, when we're younger, we do have less to lose. So we're like, why not go try it? And then we get to a part where we start to collect the stuff and the things, and we're like, ooh, well, now I have things to lose. Now I have things to protect. And then you start playing prevent defense, and it's like, wait, why did I stop living? Hold on. Life is so fun and enjoyable. So I remember when I had turned around and I was like, hey, who are you? Let's talk during this break. And you told me about what you're doing. I'm like, I freaking love that. You've proven you're an entrepreneur. You've proven that you want to take the risks. Let's dive in more. How did you find this project, and why the flip from marketing to real estate? How did that pull you in?
I don't even know, honestly. So our area was in need of a hotel for forever. It's always been in talk. It causes problems because we'll have people that get married locally. There's nowhere to put them. So there's always just been a need. And this hotel,
how big is your town? Maybe describe that too, because
it's small. I come from a small town. It's technically a city, but it is a very small city. I don't even know our population, honestly. I should really know that. But it's small. It's very much small town vibes here.
Yeah, yeah. I grew up in
But
a small town in Ohio of 2,500 people. So yeah, there is no place to stay. You're staying on their couches and how,
yeah.
like all of that.
Yeah, so it's just always been a need. And, we do a lot in our community. We sit on a lot of boards, and there's always just talk of like, okay, what do we need to expand to help this local economy? And hotel is always brought up. So we knew the demand was there. At the same time, we were really thinking about investing in real estate. Like that was kind of our next goal, make money with marketing, put that money into real estate. That was kind of the long-term plan.
What was it that pulled you guys into thinking real estate at all in the first place, too?
I don't remember how we got introduced to it so my husband's in the military. We lived in
Okay.
Oklahoma for a little bit. And I just remember that's when I really got into the real estate world. And I would like force myself once a day. I had to listen to a real estate podcast or read something real estate related to start like creating that education. I don't remember exactly what started it, but something was like, hey, you could, set yourself up for retirement with real estate and things like that. So I was like, okay, I'm liking how this sounds. So then that's kind of what dove us in. And then I have a couple clients that are in in real estate. Like I had a real estate investor, social media client. So of course I would pick his brain all the
Mm-hmm.
time. And then we had another client that was for a different business, but he also invests in real estate. And then he kind of pulled us in. He's like, come to our real estate meetup. So it just kind of grew from there. That was kind of our introduction. But we still didn't like own any. I still
Yeah.
don't own any long-term rentals yet. So our goal was, okay, we want to start investing in real estate. And then it's just kind of a weird story. Around that same time, our local community launched like a Shark Tank competition.
Ooh.
I know. And I just wanted to be involved. I just felt like it sounded so fun.
Yeah.
So I was like, how can we get involved? So we entered with a hotel concept, but like really small, like a micro hotel, like
Okay.
five rooms.
Okay.
So if you won the competition, you got $100,000. Thought process is like maybe a little naive, but I'm like, all right, well, if we win, it'll be a free micro hotel. $100,000, great, and then we'll go from there. And then that drastically changed because we found the building we have now. And that obviously changed the whole scale pretty drastically, but we just fell in love with it. It's such a cool building, but it has to be in here. And then we pivoted, and then it became a much larger project. But that's what like really forced us to not just like talk about it, but really take tangible steps, which was really fun.
Oh, I love that. So how did you find this space exactly? Were you working with brokers? Did you just like, was it listed?
No. So we were just kind of chit chatting. Like 2 weeks into the competition, they kind of dropped the bomb of like, if you want to win, you have to be 100% opening, which I wasn't really aware of before. So we kind of had a conversation. We're like, are we taking this seriously and really going to do it? And my husband and I were like, yeah, let's do it. So then that night we're like, okay, let's start thinking of any buildings that would make sense. And I really wanted it in a certain footprint because I wanted it to be in the downtown space of our city. So there wasn't really a ton of options there. And my husband just said, he's like, I used to bank at this building with my mom when I was a kid. It was really cool. I never even been inside. I didn't even know it existed. And then literally the next day he was driving to go to work. He's like, remember that building I mentioned? It has a for sale sign in it. So we're like, oh, okay. So we just called them up and we took a tour, and that was it. It was kind of like, I feel like it was a little bit like fate.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you
Yeah.
can just feel and know, and you're like, this is lining up. Like this makes
Yeah.
total sense.
Yeah. It was cool.
Okay. So did you negotiate directly with them and just use their agent or what? How did that go?
We did have a realtor we were working with. So it was owned by Santander Bank.
Okay.
Originally, it's called the Miners National Bank. It opened in originally 1828, and then they rebuilt it for their 100-year anniversary in 1928. And then Santander owned it the last couple of years, which is like a very large multi-million-dollar company.
Hmm.
And we were able to get the contact of the main head honcho that makes the decisions. So, but I was told he will only talk to the investor. He won't talk to the realtor. So I called him directly. Like seriously, it was like profusely sweating.
I love it.
And then we kind of negotiated with them. So we had a realtor, but also we were negotiating. But the realtor was also really helpful too. But it was a lot of back and forth. They were really not easy to deal with.
Yeah, and there's a lot of times on our deals because as the developer, as the end operator, you know what you want out of this, and having a
Yeah.
middleman doesn't, it kind of, sometimes the message gets a little skewed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's nice to have them do the paperwork part, but sometimes it's like, hold on, let's negotiate one-on-one. I want you to know who I
Yeah.
am. We're in this deal together. So yeah, so as you were negotiating through, did you put in terms that, hey, we're not going to close until we finish certain due diligence or permitting, or what types of negotiations were going back and forth?
Yeah, the biggest thing was the price. So they had priced it a bit high in our area. Like, again, we're a small town. Cost of
Hmm.
living here is just a little bit lower. And their headquarters are in Boston. So I'm negotiating with someone who's in a totally different market. So we're like, that price point just isn't, it's not doable. And, I'm running the numbers and I just can't make it work with that price point. So a big thing was price. And then once we got it down to something that was reasonable, then the next part was figuring out the due diligence. I will say though, like at this point in time, I actually got cut off. I didn't know this could happen, but I was just booking tours left and right. I'm bringing everybody in. I brought in engineers, I brought in contractors, and eventually they were like, we are not letting you back in until you have due diligence. So at this point, like we really had done a lot of work in terms of like that due diligence window. I didn't even know what due diligence meant at that time. So it was all brand new. So I feel like we had a pretty good idea of the building, of construction costs, but we still obviously wanted like a true due diligence. And then we
Hmm.
negotiated back and forth on that. Which that was a lot of negotiating as well. But yeah, that was the two big things. How long we would have a due diligence period for, and then the price point.
Okay. And then do you have a like a list or like a handful of things that you did as part of the official due diligence?
Yeah.
Or, and how did you know what to even ask for, what to do?
I don't know. We just bugged the crap out of everybody, honestly. Like, I owe so many people so many free stays because, like, these poor engineers, contractors, I just kept, like, walking into their office. I'm like, please just answer one more question. So I just asked anything we could possibly think of. But the big thing was, like, how do we come across construction cost? So bringing in like multiple contractors to get multiple opinions, make sure we're not missing anything. That was a big thing to try to get like a little bit better idea of that. Make sure we're not like totally off by $1 million and it tanks the whole business. And then the other thing was just like the behind the scenes. Like it is an older building, so we were worried about like structure, anything like mold, the roof. So the big things that we didn't get to do during like our when I just booked a
Hmm.
million tours was like those behind the scenes things, like, is the
Yeah.
structure okay? Is the
Where you're
roof okay?
physically touching and getting in
Yeah.
and feeling and seeing. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, and what you said there is, we talk about it all the time in our mentorship program, and even with guests on the pod, is that ask questions. If you don't understand, just ask. And you're saying you're bugging them, but in reality, they
Yeah.
don't have a project if you don't go forward. So it part of their job is to work with you early on to help you figure out, is this a deal? They're the experts at those things. And then by
Mm.
you talking to them, and what I'm sure they appreciated is when you were asking the questions, then you were taking action, because a lot of
Yeah.
people will spin their wheels and waste their time. And they're like, no, like, you're asking the right questions. You're moving this forward. We know this is a deal. So yes, we're going to respond. And yes, we're going to work with you and help figure this out, because
Mhm.
we only win if you win. And that's where it's really fun building that development team, where it's like, yeah, we're all in
Yeah.
this together.
Yeah, I will say a big challenge with that was, like, no one took us seriously at
Right.
first. So,
Right.
me and my husband just kinda walking into their office, like, I could tell there was a lot of people that just didn't believe that we were serious. So, that was a big hurdle to kinda overcome. And then also kind of just helped us weed out who we were going to work with. Because if you're just kind of brushing us off your shoulder, we don't want to work with you. But yeah, that was a big thing. And same thing with like negotiating with the owners, they didn't take us seriously. So that
So
caused a lot of
what
problems.
strategies or tactics did you put in? Because clearly you're moving forward. So,
uh
and everyone who just starts out, they have that imposter syndrome and they go, I haven't
hmm
done it before, so why would they take me serious, even though I
Yeah.
know I can do it? What types of things did you do? Or was it just talking to multiple ones until someone finally gave you the time of day, and then maybe you learned a little bit of lingo to then parlay into the next conversation? But how did you guys navigate that initially?
Say the biggest thing that helped us in our corner was we really put pen to paper and that showed how serious we were. Also, part of this competition, we had to have a business plan, of course, projections, performance, startup costs, and I went like above and beyond. So the business plan is seriously like 50 pages long. The projections were down to like for the wedding venue, like salt per wedding. So it was extremely detailed, which took like months of work. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that helped show people. I'm like, no, seriously, look at this. Like we mean it. We're serious. So I think that helped people took us a little bit more seriously there. They're like, oh, okay, they're not just like talking about it. They're actually putting the work in.
Exactly. Exactly. That is
Yeah.
so true. So then from a funding standpoint, I'm assuming, but maybe correct me, did you get bank debt to help with this? Do you have a construction loan? Did you bring in partners? How did that part work?
Yes. So we primarily are using a private money lender for the whole project. And the way that happened, so our banker
You
that we
just had
went
a
in,
rich uncle that you called up and you're like,
I
yeah,
wish.
this.
No, unfortunately that didn't happen. But I will say I feel like we kind of lucked out where I didn't really have a hard time getting investors, which was really nice. And part of that helped so much was that competition we were in because it got the word out. So we got a call one day from our
And then
banker.
are
Yep.
you able to say like how much
Yeah.
like we're talking here?
Yeah. So all in project costs right now are like 4 to 4.5 million. So that's
Okay.
all in. So it's just our private money lender is providing the full amount for that. And
Okay.
then we'll refinance into a bank loan. So we had our banker called us and said, I have an investor. If you're interested, we met with them. And first we were moving forward with them and it was going really well. And then they just felt like we just kept stalling and I wasn't really sure why. And months were going by, We still were under contract and there were some red flags there. And then, but I really love those people. And then one of the judges actually from the competition we were in, the competition had now ended at this point, and they were kind of like, why aren't you under contract yet? I don't know actually. And then eventually they reached back out. They were like, I want to invest in this project. So if you're not getting under contract with them, like, do you want to get under contract this week? And I was like, yeah, I do. So that's how you ended up getting the investor that we are actually working with, is that he was a judge in that competition.
So you put yourself out there, you went to a competition, you didn't quite know what you were doing yet, but you put as much effort in and as much detail in as you could from what you knew. And
Mm-hmm.
by putting yourself out there and you told people in your community what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
not only did you find a deal, you were able to find the money partner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we talk
Yeah.
so much about just sharing and building in public and putting it out there to where if you do that, you just don't know the doors or opportunities that are going to
Yeah.
open.
Yeah, that's even like this podcast. You know what I mean? It's just, how do we get here unless you put yourself out there, you tell people what you're doing. Social media too is just, I mean, obviously that's the world we come from, but it's just so underrated because it the connections that can come from it's opened so many doors. So it's
Yeah.
worth it. Yeah.
100%. Okay, so now you are, you talked about a little bit about the challenges to get to closing. Did you officially closed on the property now and you're in construction?
Yes, so we are opening next like April, May. Our first wedding we booked is actually next June. So I'm hoping to be
Okay.
open like a month or two before. But yeah, we're demo is done. Now we're on to construction. So
Okay.
yeah.
And then how big is this building and what's the end division? What does this look like?
Yes. So in total it's 24,000 square feet. And then that will include 30 hotel rooms, a wedding venue, a secondary venue for like smaller events. It will be used as cocktail hour for the wedding. And then our expansions down the road, I think, are going to be a big day spa. And then, I don't know, maybe there's other ways we could potentially progress down the road, but those are kind of the definites of what we will have day one. And then some conference meeting spaces.
Yeah. And then for the expansion, does that mean that you will get more land or there's just more parts of the building that you?
Well, I guess I could say, I don't think it's really a secret. But so one option is to do a restaurant,
Yeah.
which we kind of go back and forth with every day. So we could add that, and that wouldn't require any additional land.
Okay.
That would just be utilizing what we already have, like expanding the catering kitchen to then be a full-blown kitchen. So that's a potential option. There are some possibilities to expand by acquiring more properties or
Hmm.
building on what we currently have. So we talk about that. That's a couple years down the road.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how do you see, well, and I guess you've talked about people taking you seriously at first and then finding working with one money partner and going to another. Are there what other challenges? Because it sounds like if you haven't been in real estate before, you probably haven't managed construction before.
Mhm.
How does that work? And even maybe some of the details, you've got this private money lender, you've got this contractor. How are they even paid? How does that all working out?
Yes. So the business partner that we brought on, they are real estate investors. So that was like the one thing we were looking for with the business partner was we needed someone that understood the construction side. So the previous partner we were going to work with, the one we did end up working with, they invest in real estate already, so they understood that world. So really, the way we're structured is like that person gets us to opening date, and then we will actually run the business. So in terms of like managing contractors, who's coming what day, that's actually not our responsibility. That's our business partner's responsibility. And they have an amazing project manager that kind of handles that. So we're involved, but in terms of like
Mhm.
the day-to-day scheduling, we don't have to do, which has been
That's incredible.
nice.
So, hey, can we chat for a second? Since you're listening to this podcast, you're already thinking like a developer. You see the potential in your community, and you're ready to do more than just watch from the sidelines. That's exactly why we created the Local Developer Vault. It's a free resource full of tools, templates, and trainings to help you take action. And here's the best part. When you sign up, you'll also get access to our local real estate developer community. It's full of people just like you who are making real things happen in their neighborhoods. So don't just listen to the stories. Become the next one that we spotlight on our show. The link in the show notes to unlock the vault and join our movement. So the private money lender is the business partner.
Yes.
Okay. So does that mean you ended up doing a joint venture deal with them, or?
We're both
And
GPs on the project.
yeah,
Does that make
yeah,
sense? Yeah.
yep,
So we
yep.
both have, yeah.
Yep. So then you've just decided, hey, you've got these strengths, we've got these, here's how we're going to work together, which that again is, you don't have to know everything. You just have to know the right people and the partners to bring in to then make it happen, because you want to run the operations part. That's the part that appears to light you up and is super awesome. So yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, and at first I really saw that as a negative, but I ended up joining a hotel group, and then I kind of realized I'm like everyone does business partners. Like it's not a bad thing that I don't know it all. That's actually normal, and it's a lot of work, so it's nicer too to split up the work. So at first I was kind of bummed about that because I felt like I have to do this because I don't have that education or knowledge. But
Mm-hmm.
then I was kind of like, oh, I get to do this and I can focus on our strengths. They can focus on theirs. So like the perfectionism in me was like really bothered by that at first. But now I'm like, oh, that's actually, it's nice. And I get to worry about this. They get to worry about that. And both are just so important to making it successful. So yeah, that was a learning curve.
That right there, for people first getting into their developments, that is one of the biggest things. They're like, no, I'm just going to do it all myself. And yeah, if you're flipping a house, sure, go do that all yourself. If you're doing a full development and you have a full team and you're going to have operations, that's the beauty of development. There's enough margin there to go, yeah, let's have partners. What feels heavy to me is light to you, and what feels light to you is heavy to me. Like it's all, it all works out that way, and very similar to you. So one of the friends I was at that same conference with, she is very much in your corner and wants to do the operations, create the most epic experience. I'm like, I want that to be the end result. I don't want to be the one doing that.
Yeah.
Now, to help get through the acquisition, the funding, the development, construction, but yeah, that's my bread and butter.
There you go.
The operations, no, I'm done. Peace out. I'm
So-
going to go find the next one.
Yeah, we would work well together then. That's because we're opposites.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of it. It's like, cool, you get these partnerships. And like this first partner that you're working with, you're going to find that ebb and flow of, because it's not always going to be perfect, but you're going to see, this is what we could have defined a little more clear. This is where we worked really well. Maybe even in the future, there's a third partner on a slightly bigger project, and that fills in the gap of something else we don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how do you and your husband then separate your portion of what you do? Because I know there's a lot of couples who get into this too, and it's like, cool, Do you take your work home? Are you able to separate it? How do you guys structure that part?
Vent to someone about it because I have to catch you up to speed before I could vent. It's like,
For my vent to make sense, you need to know this pain I just went through.
yeah,
And oh, cool, you
yeah.
know this.
Yeah, so I actually feel like it's such a blessing to have someone where it's like they fully understand it, are in the weeds of it. But then, of course, the downside is, we're laying in bed at 10 o'clock at night still talking about work. So it's definitely a balance, but overall it's been really great. And then yeah, so how we have it broken up with this project is he's primarily right now responsible for the hotel portion, and I'm primarily responsible for weddings and events. Once we get that, once I can replace myself, we'll then split hotel duties. But it's been nice to have two people because then we can kind of split responsibilities and
Mm,
what we're focusing on right now because the wedding portion is so much. So that's taking up all of my time.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. So does that then lead into, are you now partnering? And this kind of goes into, how is this project impacted and how will it impact your community?
Mm-hmm.
Are you working on the local community connections for the flowers, for the music, for photography? How, and that component?
Yes. So yeah, that's very much like community driven in terms of like how we are doing our operations and vendors that we're working with. I will say a lot of the clientele we've been attracting have been out of the area couples. But yeah, getting all finding your DJs and your florists has been a big priority right now for our couples.
For sure, for sure. So, and as you're going through, and clearly you seem to have tons of energy already, but when you do hit those hurdles and those road bumps, how do you stay motivated to go, okay, this is worth it, versus let's just go back to the marketing company?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. So some nights we're like, I don't know what we were thinking,
Head in
but
the
yeah.
hands, like what's happening?
Yeah, I like 2 months into this, so, we said there's been such a need for a hotel, and then people ask, "Well, why hasn't anybody else done it?" And then we looked at ourselves, like, 2 months in, we're like, "No, this makes sense why no one's done this yet. This is a lot of work." But, yeah, it's been a lot. I will say the biggest hurdle we've run into that's really been, like, mentally taxing is because we come from a small town, and this is needed in our small town, and we live 5 minutes from this location, the community aspect has been really difficult because now you're open up to everyone's opinions. You get a lot of negativity. They'll share something in the newspaper, which gets reshared on Facebook, and there's a lot of negative comments. So that's been difficult. So getting
Yeah.
a thick skin has been important.
Did you expect, so and this is the part that stinks sometimes, is that that you're bringing something that's going to benefit the community, and then all of a sudden you
Yeah.
start to realize that you're going to get hated on just for the fact that you're trying something new and you're trying to bring it, even
Yeah.
though it's a good thing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
how do you work through that? Because yeah, you're right. It's when you see that, you go, wait, I'm pouring my heart and soul into this to make
Hmm.
this community better, and you're just ripping me to shreds as if it's nothing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I will say, so I run our local community's social media accounts. That's one of our clients. So like we do the city's social
Hmm.
media, and I do feel like that has helped because I've seen firsthand for 2 years now. Like we post about a business, and you can't please everyone. Everyone has their own opinion. Everyone has something negative to say. So I feel like that has helped prep
Yeah.
me for this. So I knew what was coming. And the biggest thing I've just taken away is it's just not worth it to respond because like, we'll get so many comments like, who is possibly going to come to Pottsville and want to stay in a nice hotel? Like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, actually, I have so much market research that proves elsewhere. Like, or they're like, what couples are going to be coming to fill a luxury wedding venue? And I'm like, well, we booked 11 already. So it's just
Hmm.
like, it's not worth it to respond because then you just go in a back and forth of trying to explain yourself. And I just don't owe these people an explanation. So it's best to just not look at it, I think. And then if I look, I have to get off so I don't respond because it's not worth it.
Yeah, 100%. That takes a lot of willpower in itself, and that's anytime. It doesn't matter what you do, what type of job, career. But if you're an entrepreneur, you're doing something new, you're pushing the
Mhm.
limits, and part of it is you're forcing them to look in the mirror and go, well, why didn't you do it, or why aren't you doing
Yeah.
this? And rather than go do it and take accountability, it's easier to go, "Oh, you suck. Here's why."
Yeah, a big thing that popped up. So we ended up getting a grant, And it's important to note this grant was available for up to 2 years. They could not find anybody to take the grant because it came with a lot of red tape. Investors were like, I could just use private money lend. Why would I use this? So it sat there for like 2 years. It was to the point where they were going to have to give the money back. They were like, it was becoming an issue. So we then got that grant. Instead of like divvying it up into multiple projects like it was intended to, they kind of rewrote the terminology so we could just put all of it into one project because that was the only thing that made sense. And it, again, was sitting there for 2 years. But of course, they put that in the paper, which a million comments. Well, I could open a hotel too if I got $500,000. And I'm like, you could have. It was available to everybody.
You are correct. You could have.
Yeah, so it's that one gets me. Yeah, and grants get people all riled up. We've discovered like, well, I could do it too. It was open to, you could have applied for it.
Yep, exactly. And that's, the proof will be in the pudding when you get it open and they start to see the feel and the energy, and then you'll start to see them shift and go, that is a cool place. That change was okay. And that then sparked this person doing an upgrade to their building, which that was super cool. And then that allowed this business over here to open. And I really like going there for coffee, and they'll start to see. And so that's, for me, that's where I'd say when you know the ripple effect you're creating, it's like, you know what, you can do that now. We're going to keep persevering and go forward because we understand the bigger picture, and eventually you're going to see it. And even if you don't see it or acknowledge it in the future, even by impacting one life, which you're already more than going to, you've done something better for the world. So it's like,
100%.
I love that. So what advice would you have outside of all the wonderful nuggets that you've dropped for anyone who's on the fence of thinking, hey, I'm an entrepreneur, or I'm ready for taking my time freedom back and I'm willing to roll up my sleeves and maybe get into real estate development? What type of advice would you give them to either do ahead of time or dive in and figure it out? Like, what would you say?
Yeah, I feel like I give bad advice because if you want me to convince you to quit your job tomorrow, I can do that. I'm all for jumping in headfirst and figuring it out down the road. But I just feel like the biggest thing that separates people from getting to that other side is taking actionable steps, because they talk about it, they overanalyze it, and there's no action. Like, I can actually use my husband as an example because we're kind of opposites, where he's such an overthinker. He's so analytical. He'll just talk and talk and talk. And I'm like, that sounds great on paper, but we have taken 0 action steps today. So like the biggest thing we always say is like, you have to move the needle at least 1% every single day. So like even with marketing, we tell clients like you could spend a lot of time, doing admin work, but that didn't do anything today to produce more sales. So it's like we have to do an actionable step every day that gets you at least 1% closer, because all of those other things like the market research is important, the analyzing other venues and what they're doing, it's so important, but that's not going to get me to an actual goal of opening. So I have to take an actionable step every day, because if you don't, you just get stuck sitting there overthinking, overanalyzing, and then 2 years go by and you still didn't get actually one step closer to that goal. So yeah.
I love that. Mic drop right there. People, take action. When you get the feedback, you can course correct. Taking action and going one direction doesn't mean that that's it. You can never go back. You can never change.
Absolutely.
Just gives you more information to pivot and go, okay, cool. I'm going to do it this way now.
Yeah. And you're never going to know everything before. You can overanalyze for years and you will never know it all until you actually do it, because then all the new, the questions pop up and things you didn't know and the hurdles arise, but there's no way to know that before you actually do it. So it's like, you can overanalyze and plan as much as you want, but then once you actually start to take action, it's going to teach you so much more than the theoretical things you were thinking of behind your computer. So.
Exactly. I think what's the saying? It's like knowledge. Nope, I'm gonna butcher it, but like learning gives you knowledge or something, but you get wisdom from taking action. And you'd much rather be wise and have the wisdom of going, oh, okay, here's this, versus knowing everything in theory.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I like that.
So, okay, so we've talked about this project, and I really don't see this being like, hey, that was it, we did this, we're done, we're gonna just make this the future operations. What do you guys see? What's your 3, 5, 10-year goal of where, not only with this project, but maybe future ones? And is it in your community? Would it be doing something else? What do you guys kind of see in the future?
Yes. Yeah, this will definitely not be just it. My plan for the next 3 to 5 years is I want to learn everything I can about hotel property management and wedding venue management because I think there's a lot of opportunity there for us to grow and scale. So while we could potentially look to acquire more hotels and more properties down the road, I think we could also grow a little bit faster with management contracts. So my goal is like we're self-managing this, we're self-managing the wedding venue, so I could leverage that knowledge to learn as much as I possibly can to try to then get more management contracts. Because then, I don't have to worry about raising money for those. I don't have to worry about all the construction. So it's only realistic, I feel like, to do a big project like this every couple of years. But in the meantime, I could grow faster with management contracts. So that's my personal next goal for
I
the three to
absolutely
five
love
years.
that because that creates, not only does that create more cash flow, but now by you growing that, you've got so much more experience and
Yeah.
information from the different hotels, from the different tenants, from the guests that come in, and you go, oh,
Mhm.
this is really working. Let's apply it across the board. And then everyone gets elevated.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that a lot. So that's our plan.
Very awesome. I love it. You're clearly an entrepreneur. I can geek out on that forever. I absolutely
Yeah,
love that.
I love it.
So, is there anything that we haven't talked about yet that you're like, oh, yeah, like whether it's actually, there's a cool feature to this project that we didn't talk about because of it being a bank, right? Isn't there like an old vault or something?
Yeah,
Or,
I guess we didn't actually talk about what the actual building looks like, but
yeah.
it's so cool. So it's a really historic building in our area. So originally started as a bank, like I said, in 1828. And then for their 100th year anniversary, this is during like the big booming coal industry, which was really big where we're from. They then built what we have today, which is like a really cool custom building. The architecture that they hired to do it was a nationally renowned architecture at that time. The people that built like the custom brass doors, he is still like one of the most renowned brass. It's like they're in New York City and they have this big like brass sculpture outside that you'll see people like tourists take pictures of all the time. But that's who they hire. I can't think of the name, but that's who they
Snap.
hired.
Okay.
Yeah. So like they really did like spare no expenses and built a really cool building. So it's very cool. You go inside, you have the original French limestone walls, you have 40-foot ceilings, and then you have a big vault, which is really fun. So the history in there, it's such a cool building, which is I think why we've been able to book so many weddings right
Hmm.
now because I mean it is very much in demo mode. So but it's so cool and people can kind
Hmm.
of see the vision of what that will look like. And yeah,
I
it's
love
really
that.
pretty. Yeah.
And then, so is the vault incorporated at all? Were you able to into like the future experience, or what does that look like?
Yeah, we're gonna put it's not that big. So it's you could fit
Okay.
a couple, it's not big enough to do like multiple tables, but you can put like
Okay.
one table of like 6 to 8 people. So I think what we're gonna do is some kind of like perimeter seating, maybe like a
Hmm.
higher end like bench type of style around the perimeter. Maybe like some higher end liquor displays, but the goal is that we can utilize it for things like I don't know, a bourbon tasting and like put a
Yeah.
nice fancy table and like small private business meetings you could do in there during the week. And then for venues, weddings, we just kind of have it open to them. I'm like, you could put
Hmm.
whatever you want in here. You can make a dessert table in here. You can make this a big photo booth. It's kind of an open space where
Yeah.
you can utilize it and get how creative as you'd like. So
Super cool. That's awesome. Great. So, are there any other features of the building of what you guys are doing or anything that we didn't talk about that we should have touched on?
I don't think so. Yeah, hotel rooms, wedding venue, day spa could be really cool down the road. And that goes in our basement. So we are not really
Okay.
renovating that too much in phase one. But we still have like a ground floor that we have the ability to expand into. So that might be like a big day spa. You can come, go in the sauna, get in a robe, order some champagne with your girlfriends. So that's kind of exciting for down the road. But I think other than that, we covered everything.
I love that. And how you're
Yeah.
approaching this with a phase project to where it's like, hey, let's get the staples in that we want and then we can
Hmm.
expand from there. That's boom, you're nailing it. For someone who hasn't done development before, like that's exactly the path and the steps we'd recommend. You're getting you rolling your sleeves up, getting your hands dirty, and you're learning so much through this. This is awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I know
Yeah.
so many people are going to benefit from just hearing this and going, okay, maybe I'll just take that jump. Like, I guess maybe it's not that scary.
Yeah,
Uh,
It's definitely scary, but I always say, like, I'm like, if we can do it, literally anybody can do it because we've come from zero experience in this world. So, and I will say, we did months and months, probably close to a year of like research and learning as much as we can. We've invested into coaches to teach us the world. So it's not like we're just totally winging it, but we have put in the time to learn as much as we can, and like, not just, fly off the speed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Learn, but then
But
eventually go, boom, it's time to jump.
yeah, absolutely. So
I
it's been a
love
lot of
that.
fun so far.
So, how can people follow along and just kind of stay tuned through construction and then opening, both with the project and
Hmm.
also you guys and what you're doing with your marketing and other avenues?
Yeah, I think my personal account is just my first and last name. So just Hannah Corbacio. So that's pretty easy. And then on TikTok and Instagram, we are just the Rosalia Hotel. So yeah.
Awesome. We'll make sure to include those in the show notes. So, thank you again for being here. And to our audience, if you got any value out of this at all, which I know I did, so I certainly hope you did, if you can like and subscribe, we're on all the platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and so many others. Because the more that you do that and leave a review, the more this message can get out there and the more we can inspire other locals to go do some really awesome things in their communities. So, thank you for this time. And thank you, Hannah, for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much.